grace.
Your grace.
No.
Yeah, no, I would have to get one of those guides that tells me how you would, but it's not just that though, it's like how you address a married woman, how you address an unmarried woman, how you address an unmarried woman if she's the elder sister versus the younger sister.
I have cheat sheets for that.
Yeah, I would seriously need cheat sheets for that stuff. But there's a wonderful series of books called Everyday Life. Have you seen this series? Like there's Everyday Life in the Middle Ages, Everyday Life in the Antebellum South, Everyday Life, and it will tell you things like what kind of underwear they wore.
In fact,
how often they bathed. It'll tell you that these little things that you need to know if you're writing a book that you don't realize.
I actually used one of those for the Roman part. You probably haven't gotten to this part. Part of Vexing the Viscount is set in 405 Roman Britain.
Well, I know that they're looking for this old Roman treasure. And again, it's a treasure hunting thing. So I love even in modern literature or modern movies, I was talking about this, is I love the caper.
Yes.
I love when it's like when they're going to get together and do it, do a thing together, do a little, I love it when a plan comes together.
Yeah.
And I see, because and I'm not giving anything away to your readers, that in the very opening chapter, he is looking for people to partner with him on an adventure. And because of the history of their families, of course, he doesn't want her to be that partner, but she desperately wants, she's got money. And
she wants an adventure.
And she wants an adventure, and she wants for him to let her be the partner on this adventure. And she's a woman, and she's an unmarried woman, and their families have a history, so he's, of course, she's totally unsuitable, but I know that you're going to let her do it, because that's what, I'm looking forward to that. Myself.
We worked a way out for her to do that.
Good, because I'm looking forward to her having an adventure. Now, you and I are both speaking at an upcoming conference.
Yes.
What are you going to be speaking on?
I'm actually going to be speaking on the joy of writing sex.
Oh gosh, and I have to write a love scene right now. I mean, like tomorrow morning when I get up, because I write every morning, even if I've got to be somewhere. I get up early and I write a little bit. Every morning, and the scene I'm writing right now
has to be a love scene.
Is a love scene, and sometimes it just flows, and sometimes it's just shoot me.
It's every scene is like that, whether it's a love scene or not. There are some scenes that just you cannot put a word wrong, and others you have to pry out with a crowbar.
But what I find that's different about writing a scene that has sex in it is that I'm one of these writers that I come from a business background. I'm used to being in a big, noisy office. And I can write with distractions. I can write with somebody sitting right next to me with the television blaring, with a person right next to me having a loud conversation. I'm fine, with distractions, and because I go into my little world and I write and I'm fine, unless it's a sex scene. I cannot write a sex scene if somebody's, I think that being interrupted in the middle of writing a sex scene is very much like being interrupted in the middle of sex. You may be right. You go back and you look at the page and you're going, "Ew, what was I thinking? Yuck! This is not a turn on at all. And if it doesn't turn me on, it is not going to turn my reader on."
One of my writing friends, Jana De Leon, she writes really funny contemporaries. She writes in a Starbucks because she likes to have the clutter around her all the time.
Oh, I can do it on a plane.
Oh, can you? Okay. Well, she was getting ready to do her love scene, and all of a sudden, one of the men at the next table stood up and started praying out loud. And she said, "I cannot write this scene right now."
I've been caught when I was writing the erotic book. And at that time I was still working as a business analyst, and I traveled a lot for my job, so I had a lot of frequent flyer miles. So I was always in first class, so I could open the laptop.
There you go.
Not now, now I'm in the back. I've got an Alpha Smart, which is the little keyboard emulator, and that's fine in coach.
Yeah.
But in first class, I'd open up the laptop and sit up there and work, and I've got a big
Someone
screen.
looking at you.
Well, and I was flying out of Miami, and there's two ladies sitting behind me, and I'm tuning them out because they're speaking in Spanish. And I understand Spanish, and I actually can speak Spanish, but not well. I don't think in Spanish. So for me to overhear Spanish, I have to really be concentrating on what they're saying. So I'm not paying any attention. And I'm typing away, and then the flight attendant comes and, you know, asks me if I want coffee or something. So I stop and I'm chatting with the flight attendant, and then I'm paying attention to my coffee, and then I realize what I'm hearing. She is translating the love scene. She's reading it over my shoulder, this very explicit sex scene. She's translating it into Spanish to the other older lady who keeps going, you know, oh my God. She keeps going, ay Dios, ay Dios, ay Dios. And she's translating it on the plane, and I'm like, okay, all right.
I usually write to music, and that helps me get into the zone. It's almost like an autonomic response once I get the headphones on, and, you know, the way it goes.
Now that I live in by myself, or at least most of the time, my brother's there at the moment, and he's there part of the year. And it's a little tiny cottage, and it's very small, and it's very private. I have plenty of privacy, but I'm not accustomed to being by myself all the time. I'm used to being around people. So even if I'm not really chatting with people at the coffee shop or something, I like to go.
Like to have that background
Yeah,
noise, huh?
just so that I see some other people besides me and my brother and my cat. I'm becoming the stereotypical, you know, single woman of a certain age who has this very close personal relationship
Joan Wilder,
with her cat. Yeah, me and Oscar, we talk and have discussions. It's a little embarrassing. Yes.
Well, I have two little furry writing assistants too. They're dogs.
They're dogs, yeah.
They get on either side of me in my recliner with my laptop, and away we go.
Well, my one cat who really liked to help me passed away, unfortunately, but I did have a cat that would lie on top of, before you had the thin screen, when you had the big computer screen, would lie on top of the computer screen and watch the words going across the screen.
Fun.
She was a funny little cat. Now, there was something I wanted to ask you about, and it's a personal thing, and if you don't want to talk about it, I'll understand, but you're a colon cancer survivor, is that correct?
I am. I was diagnosed just last November, right after Thanksgiving, and had my surgery in December, and thank you God, they got it early and got it all, and I do not have to have chemotherapy. But
Wonderful.
This came as a total shock to me. I had no symptoms at all. But I had a very sharp little GP who said, you know what, you haven't had a colonoscopy screening, so it's time for you to have it. You deserve it, she said.
So it was just a screening?
Just a
It wasn't,
screening.
there were no symptoms at all?
No symptoms at all.
And you just, okay.
And all of a sudden, I've got this 5-centimeter mass that had to come out.
Well, but this is one of those tests like a mammogram that they say that everybody, you know, you get to a certain age and you should just do it every couple of years as a matter of course anyway.
Well, I think it depends too on family history. My parents are both cancer survivors, so there I guess my risk maybe was a little bit elevated, but they say definitely by 50 you should have your first one. Younger than that if there is cancer in your family. But this is such a treatable cancer if it's caught early. The problem is if you wait for symptoms, it's usually beyond the point where it's going to be taken care of easily.
And you probably have to ask your doctor, because you know, when I go in for my physical and they look at me and they say, okay, you're a woman and there's a history of breast cancer in your family, so we're going to schedule you for a mammogram and we're going to do all the girly ailment things, we're going to check that. But then they find out that my blood pressure is good and my cholesterol is good. So that's generally about as far as they go. They generally do not then say, oh, and you should have a colonoscopy.
Oh, yes, you should. Yeah.
You know, so you probably have to say to your doctor, hey, and how about a colonoscopy? Would that be, you know,
absolutely.
I'm sure that, you know, your insurance is going to cover it.
I am so thankful for this very sharp little GP. You know, the doctors are all so young now. But
like editors and agents.
Yes,
They're all really young.
They are,
yeah.
perky. But she knew her stuff, and she saved my life. And I'm so thrilled to have my life handed back to me. But I'm going to be watched over the next few years, and if you, where's the camera? If you haven't had your colonoscopy, go get one. It's really not a big deal. It's worse than it. I mean, it sounds worse than it is.